Love Boise State Public Radio podcasts? They are free to enjoy, but not free to produce. If you can give, your support helps keep shows like Idaho Matters and Scandalize available to everyone. Donate now at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Cadet. This is Idaho Matters. As many as 10,000 homes have burned in the Los Angeles fires, and many people have nowhere to go, as hotels have filled up and the few available rentals in the area were quickly taken up. Now, rebuilding will take years, and it will not get started until toxic chemicals from burned homes are cleaned up and until after wading through a forest of regulations and permits. So there has been speculation that some of the folks who lost their homes might find new homes here in Idaho. Now, this wouldn't be the first time. Californians have fled their state for Idaho in the past after major fires and even earthquakes. But Idaho has also seen its share of fires that have burned homes or come really close to burning down whole communities. And the LA fires have a lot of people wondering about building homes in the wildland-urban interface. Journalist Rocky Barker has been musing about these issues on his blog. He even wrote a book about surviving the 1988 wildfires in Yellowstone National Park. It's called Scorched Earth, How the Fires of Yellowstone Changed America. And Rocky is joining us now. Welcome back, Rocky.
Thank you, Gemma. Good to talk to you this afternoon.
So, Rocky, can we just start with the idea that Californians who have lost their homes might come here to Idaho? As I mentioned, this has happened before.
Well, just recently, in the last few years, when the community of Paradise was completely destroyed in Northern California, a lot of those folks came here. Then, you go back to the early 90s when we had riots, earthquakes, and fires. And a lot of people left Southern California and moved up here, up to our area, up to Eagle and Meridian and other communities.
So Rocky, some of these new transplants, if they moved here, would be buying homes in what's called the urban wildland interface. This is an area where cities and the wilderness collide. You point out that places like Boise and Haley actually have building codes to try and protect against those fires. However, there are places in Idaho that don't have those codes, correct? Like Idaho County.
That's right. Idaho County, this is a place that really values its liberty, its libertarian views, and they don't have building codes. And subsequently, but in 2015, they had huge giant fires, and they burned through all the place, and they were like expecting the Forest Service, to come in and save their homes, but they didn't have a lot of defensible space for them. So it continues to be a challenge in places like that, which are attracting new Idahoans.
So let's point out the fact, Rocky, though, that wildfires have burned homes in Boise before. In fact, you were there and reported on the Oregon Trail fire back in August of 2008. This actually burned down 10 homes in the East Boise area. It also killed a BSU English professor. How bad was that fire for folks who didn't live here and may not remember it?
Well, that fire, which started in electrical area, came up the hill there at Columbia Village, and the houses that were right along the area just immediately started burning. And once they started burning, they became the carrier of the fire into the Columbia Village subdivision. And the subdivision at the time had told people they needed to have cedar shake roofs. So they just jumped from roof to roof, and it was really bad. And of course, we lost a BSU professor. But when I was down at the bottom of it as it was coming back down, and it was coming right towards the subdivision, right at the bottom of the hill there, and it was it just came right down to the edge, and only because bulldozers and firefighters came right at the last minute did they keep it all from burning up. So, it was, but it was the fire that triggered Boise to pass its
Hmm.
ordinances to protect against wildland fires.
So then, Rocky, there was the Table Rock fire. This almost burned down homes in the foothills. I remember this one incredibly well. I could actually see the fire burning from my house at the time. And then let's talk about this last fire that literally almost took out Harris Ranch in East Boise. How close have we come to something like what's happened in Los Angeles?
Oh, that was very close, both of those. And both of those were right next to each other. And they were very
Hmm.
similar to what we saw in Los Angeles because they didn't necessarily burn through forest, they were burning through brush. And that brush comes right back. It's really hard to keep that brush down up there by the Mesa and Table Rock. And so when that started burning, it just took off, and there was nothing stopping it. And it was good firefighting that saved Harris Ranch both times.
So, Rocky, let's step outside of Boise for a minute because we have seen some devastating fires outside of Boise as well. In fact, you covered the Wapiti fire this past summer. Um, just how close did this wildfire come to burning down the town of Stanley?
Well, it's hard to explain the geography for people who haven't been there, but Iron Creek is just west of Stanley, a couple of miles, and that fire came from the west, flying into toward Stanley, and it was going to push right through Iron Creek and all of the subdivisions that are there in the tree, but they did a backfire from Iron Creek west, and we're talking a backfire that was a giant crown fire that burned back west and stopped it from burning into the subdivision and into Stanley. It was incredible, and it was a good last minute piece of firefighting. But the interesting thing about it is it really burned through all of these areas that had been done previously to try to reduce fire danger in the community. Both fires and thinning, they're gone. Those projects, millions of dollars, all burned up. And
Hmm.
so and then the bench fire almost burned into Redfish Lake. And again, it just took great firefighting at the time to save it. And it wasn't, and all the thinning in the world doesn't help you when it really gets popping and
Hmm.
you get those high winds like we saw in California
So,
and
Rocky,
the
before I let you
Wapiti
go,
pile.
so Rocky, before I let you go, I mean, we've literally just talked about 5 different fires that have come close to not just burning down towns, burning down subdivisions. It seems to me that we just keep dodging a bullet. Uh, at some point, the bullet's going to strike.
Well, I think so. I've sat in a lot of fires in Idaho, and some of them we've done a lot of good things to try to reduce the risk, and Idaho has passed a bill or is the insurance director is working to put together these risk pools so that the insurance now is starting to go through the roof. They're trying to control that, and the legislature is going to be dealing with some of these things this year. But I think that I don't think that they're going to do enough. We're going to need to
Mm,
do a whole lot more, and I do think that it's probably going to be a crisis that'll cause it. But we can
yeah,
cross our
not
fingers.
yeah, not an if, but probably a when. Well, Rocky, always appreciate you coming on the program and your reporting as well. We've been speaking with journalist and blogger Rocky Barker about the LA fires, but also how they could be a wake up call for Idaho. We will, of course, put a link to Rocky's latest blog post on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho Voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.